Hi, I'm Bill Quirk, your Assembly member, proudly representing Ashland, Castro Valley, Cherryland, Fairview, Hayward Acres, Hayward, San Lorenzo, Sunol, Union City, and North Fremont. During Women's History Month each March, I honor outstanding women who are dedicated to making the 20th Assembly District a better place to live and work. I'm very proud to say that since being elected in 2012, I have recognized 35 women in the Eden Area League of Women Voters at my annual Women of the Year celebrations. We put together a video to recognize my 2022 Women of the Year. This year, my Woman of the Year is a very special one to me. It was great pride that I'm honored to call my wife, Laurel Quirk, my 2022 Woman of the Year. Laurel was a pioneer in women's rights in corporate America. She was only the second woman manager at AIG, American International Group. AIG was at one time the largest financial institution in the world, yet they did not have any women managers. At the same time she pursued a high-powered career, she gave birth to and raised two wonderful children. Laurel made way for younger women to be recognized for their skills in the business world, while at the same time being mothers, wives, and community volunteers. Laurel finished her career as a corporate vice president. Laurel has a long history of volunteer work. She encouraged our son and daughter to take up musical instruments. They were both enthusiastic and apt students. They joined the Youth Orchestra of Southern Alameda County and the Oakland Youth Orchestra. These are volunteer-run organizations. Without active parents, they would not exist. She became treasurer for both organizations. I'm not sure at all how she managed to find the time between raising a family and having a very demanding job. After we became empty nesters, she became the secretary of our neighborhood association and is currently serving as treasurer for the Hayward Rotary Club. We moved to a nonprofit-run senior community, Acacia Creek, in 2018. There were concerns in the community about how money was being spent, which resulted in a lawsuit. One concession by management was to perform an audit on Acacia Creek finances. The incumbent resident council decided management did not have to do the audit. You do not want to get Laurel upset. She joined a slate of residents who were audit proponents, won the election, and became council president. The audit was done the next year. Laurel also serves as treasurer of the Hayward Rotary Club, babysits for her 3 grandchildren, is a fantastic knitter of baby blankets, sweaters, and other garments. Not sure where she finds the time. Most of all, I'm extremely grateful for the 10 years she has sacrificed to allow me to pursue my dream of improving the lives of the people of California. Let's hear it for Laurel.
Hello, I'm Laurel Quirk, and I am thrilled and honored to be named Bill's 2022 Woman of the Year. I am, of course, Bill's wife, but that's not why he decided to nominate me for this award. I'm retired now, but this is a lifetime award in recognition for my years as an active community volunteer and a pioneering, successful businesswoman in corporate America. Professionally, I worked for the multinational insurance company AIG, where I climbed the corporate ladder as one of the first women hired into a professional track position. I began as an underwriting trainee back in 1976, and I retired 35 years later as a corporate vice president. It was a very interesting career, but also very demanding. It was, at one point, I even had to spend 2 years commuting to New York City to lead a special project. It was a 50-hour-a-week job, but somehow I also found the time and energy and interest to work with various local volunteer organizations. As Bill mentioned, if I want to get involved, I always serve as secretary or treasurer for the organization. For instance, when my daughter was a budding oboe musician, for a number of years, I served as treasurer for the youth organization of Southern Alameda County, and then treasurer for the Oakland Youth Orchestra. I was secretary of our neighborhood association in Hayward when we finally, after many years of unsuccessful negotiations, managed to convince the residents to help pay to upgrade the streets, which were a total mess, and everyone agreed was negatively impacting our property values. This is one of my proudest and most consequential accomplishments, affecting everybody in the Old Highlands neighborhood. Currently, I serve as treasurer for the Hayward Rotary Club, and I am president of this Retirement Communities Residents Council. As Bill mentioned, I have really missed my husband these past 10 years while he served the state of California. But I'm very proud of the work that he has done and the many people's lives he has positively impacted. I will, however, be very glad to have him home full-time again. Thank you for this award.
Thank you, Laurel. Obviously, without her support, I could never have done this job. Now I'm going to recognize 4 other amazing women at the local level who contribute so much to Assembly District 20. My public service honoree is Mayor Barbara Halliday. Barbara was elected mayor of Hayward in 2014 and has been a strong and consistent leader for the city. I especially admire all the work she has done to help Hayward address the climate crisis. Before being elected mayor, she served on the Hayward City Council for 10 years. I was honored to work side by side with her during my tenure on the Hayward City Council for 8 years. We accomplished many things together. Prior to her role as an elected official, Barbara served Hayward for more than 20 years in multiple roles, including sitting on the Planning Commission, where she was elected chair, and also as a community organizer on many city commissions and task forces. We were always very glad that I wanted one job, Assembly. She wanted a different one, Mayor, and we never had to run against each other. So that was something for which I am forever grateful. Anyway, Barbara is a great friend and a terrific woman, and let's hear from Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Halliday, Mayor of the City of Hayward, and I am thrilled to be among this year's Women of the Year in Assembly District 20. And it's especially meaningful for me that this honor comes from my longtime friend and colleague, Assemblymember Bill Quirk. He and I were first elected to public office in 2004 when we became the 2 newest members of the Hayward City Council. Thank you, Bill, for this honor and for your leadership and support for Hayward and for women throughout the years. Nearly everyone who enters government soon learns that no one accomplishes anything alone. Progress comes from collaboration. And it has been an amazing experience for me during these past 18 years to have been a part of the collaboration in Hayward that has helped us through the many challenges we have faced. Not the least of these challenges has been the COVID pandemic and the dramatic changes it has brought to our lives during the past 2 years. I was astonished at how quickly our city organization was able to pivot from its normal routines and fill needs that arose in our community, such as testing for and later vaccination against the virus. The city also partnered with others in our community to provide food, housing, and economic assistance for residents and businesses in need. It has been gratifying to be a part of the progress we've made in other areas as well, including responding to the climate crisis, expanding housing options, and sheltering the unsheltered. Most of all, it has been exciting to celebrate Hayward's diverse population. In 2017, we became a sanctuary city and made a commitment to be an inclusive, equitable, and compassionate community. More recently, we've been examining our history and repudiating unfair policies in our past that led to harm and generational losses in communities of color, such as the area once known as Russell City. Finally, this being Women's History Month, I should note that when Bill and I first took office, I was one of 2 women serving with 5 men on City Council. Now, those numbers are reversed, and I'm also one of the 9 women out of 14 mayors in Alameda County. I want to thank Assemblymember Quirk for helping to recognize the contributions of so many women leaders throughout the years at this annual event, and I'm deeply honored to now be among them.
My social justice honoree is Monique Berlanga. She is currently the executive director of Centro Legal de la Raza. Centro Legal is a nonprofit legal service provider working to protect and advance the rights of low-income immigrants, Black and Latino communities through bilingual legal representation, education, and advocacy. Monique previously served as interim co-executive director and director attorney of the tenants' rights practice, leading a dedicated team of attorneys and advocates working to prevent evictions of low-income tenants in the East Bay. Monique has represented low-income tenants in the East Bay for 10 years. Monique worked as a housing staff attorney with Bay Area Legal Aid, where her practice focused on eviction defense in the context of subsidizing housing and representation of tenants in fair market matters. Prior to that, Monique spent 5 years as the managing attorney of the Eviction Defense Center in Oakland. And while at the Eviction Defense Center, Monique litigated over 1,000 cases on behalf of low-income tenants facing eviction from their homes in Alameda County and parts of Contra Costa County. Let's all recognize Monique for the wonderful work she's done and hear from her.
Hello, my name is Monique Berlanga, and I'm the Executive Director at Centro Legal de la Raza. I want to thank Assemblymember Quirk for this award and tell you a little bit about Centro Legal and the work we've been doing this past year. From police brutality litigation during the Chicano Civil Rights Movement in the 1970s, to leading advocacy to enact one of the strongest eviction moratoriums in the country, to innovating financial relief, enabling undocumented frontline workers to quarantine during the pandemic, Centro Legal has aspired to meet the moment for the past 53 years. At Centro, we believe that protecting tenants is critical to the well-being of our East Bay communities. Prior to COVID, our communities were already experiencing an unprecedented housing affordability crisis. Black and brown folks were being pushed out of the East Bay and were being evicted at disproportionately high rates. Vital community members were being priced out: our teachers, our frontline workers, our service workers, our elders. The pandemic highlighted these systemic failures and pushed us to meet the moment. As soon as the pandemic struck, we started hearing from community members every day who feared being evicted because they couldn't pay rent. Beginning in March 2020, housing advocates throughout the region began advocacy to close down the eviction courts and advocate for eviction moratoria at the city, county, and state levels. Folks from all over the East Bay came together to support this effort. Advocacy was successful. We now have the most robust eviction moratorium potentially in the country, which is saving lives and preventing people from being evicted to date. Now, next we took on working with Alameda County to make sure that rental assistance was distributed effectively and equitably to those who need it the most. I'm very proud of the work that Centro Legal has done to protect tenants in Alameda County during the pandemic. I want to thank you for this award and thank you for your leadership in preserving, protecting, and creating affordable housing opportunities for low-income communities in the East Bay. Our work at Centro Legal would not be possible without support from legislators like you, Assemblymember Quirk, and we look forward to continuing to work with you towards a just recovery.
Next up is my health honoree, Andrea Schwab-Galindo. Andrea joined Bercio Vasquez Health Center in January of 2013. And has grown with the organization from her role as Compliance and Risk Management Manager to Director of Quality and Compliance to Chief Administrative Officer to her current role as Chief Executive Officer. Andrea has over 15 years of experience in community health and nonprofit program management. Prior to her work at Bercio Vasquez, she held various positions at other community health centers, where she managed programmatic and compliance components for federal contracts and programs. She's worked with various nonprofits in South America, implementing microfinance, sustainability, and community health projects. Andrea has also served on multiple nonprofit boards throughout the Alameda County. She's been a wonderful friend to me as well, and I always say we couldn't do the 20th District without Diversio Vasquez. They give truly unique services to people who wouldn't be served otherwise. So let's recognize Andrea, and let's hear from her now.
Thank you, Assemblymember Quirk, for this award. I am honored to have my work recognized among extraordinary fellow women receiving this award. As the leader of a community health center, serving two of the hardest hit zip codes in Alameda County, I witnessed firsthand the resiliency of our patients, our staff, and our community members. Navigating TVHC through the pandemic has been both extremely challenging and rewarding. Listening to patients and community members tell their stories, how the pandemic affected them, and how TVHC could best support them. The issues raised the most were around food insecurity, loss of wages due to having to quarantine, and hesitancy about getting vaccinated. And it was incredibly fulfilling to be able to meet their needs by expanding our food distribution sites to each of our main sites, becoming one of the few health centers to offer stipends for those that needed to quarantine, and increasing outreach to help combat vaccine misinformation. But I didn't do all of this work alone. During the last couple of years, many leaders were created out of necessity to help meet our communities and help them through their pandemic. I want to give a special thank you to our promotores, who became leaders of their community, ensuring people knew where to go get tested and where to come get vaccinated. I also want to recognize our COVID vaccination team. Because of them, we were able to do over 86,000 vaccinations. And to all of our TVHC staff, 84% who are women, who are the most resilient, caring, and incredible people I have ever met. Thank you for your service. And to our community partners, Hayward and Alameda County Fire Departments, Alameda County Health Services, Chabot and Ohlone College, Alameda County, and to the many organizations who came together to help us protect the health and wellness of our community. Thank you. Lastly, to our patients, 60% who are women, for your trust in us and for prioritizing your health and your families. This award could have not been possible without you. Thank you.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce Elisa Correia-Dasalla, my education honoree. One of Elisa's first jobs in her eventual career, the medical field, was in the early 1990s at an HIV/AIDS clinic in the Bay Area. Elisa worked to heal those afflicted by the AIDS virus and thought to mitigate the silent neglect of the era, which predominantly hurt queer people of color. Elisa found teaching to be her next calling and passion. She founded the Castro Valley Adult Schools Medical Academy with the intent to equitably and affordably provide vocational training to her community and particular women. Now in her 17th year teaching at the Castro Valley Adult School, Elisa has helped countless cohorts and hundreds of students attain jobs in the workplace. So let's hear from Elisa and tell her how much we've appreciated her.
Hello, my name is Elisa Correia-Dasalla. I have been teaching for 23 years, 17 of which have been as the lead instructor for the Castro Valley Medical Academy at the Castro Valley Adult and Career Education School. I am humbled to be recognized by Assemblymember Bill Quirk as one of the Local Women of the Year for 2022. I am in the company of amazing women who work tirelessly within our communities to improve the quality of all lives. Whether this be through education, medical care, or social advocacy, it is always with compassion for all people. My experience as a first-generation immigrant, second language learner, and a student who struggled to learn allowed me to place myself in the shoes of many of my students. I appreciated my experience in the career and technical program early on in my post-high school education. I have experienced the rewards of this education with every job that I've had in my life. It truly gave me the foundation to pursue other endeavors, such as further education, maintaining employment, and supporting my family. I have been blessed to be able to teach and meet amazing and courageous women, imparting a bit of my experience to help them to pursue a career which will support them and their families. Through this sharing of knowledge, I have received more than I could ever give. The gifts have been plenty: lifelong friendships, professional partners, and the observation of resiliency of women to be able to start over, and restart at any point in their life journeys, even in the face of many obstacles and barriers. I accept this honor for all the women who have persevered when they thought they were not smart enough, strong enough, or good enough. I gladly sit beside them to let them know that they are and always will be more than enough. Thank you.
Well, these amazing women have all worked and served our community tirelessly for many, many years. I'm particularly honored to recognize them today as unique women who have performed extraordinarily during these extraordinary times. Thank you for joining me and for taking some time to learn about District 20's 2022 Women of the Year. Thank you.